What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy, and I'm coming at you with an action figure review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hasbro The Black Series ISB Tactical Agent from Andor. The second season of Andor was some of the best TV I think I've ever watched in my entire life, and the ISB Tactical Agents are a great little new troop builder for the Black Series line. They have a very interesting, very cool looking costume, and I especially loved K2SO's hallway scene with some of these guys, and it definitely added to the appeal to pick up this figure. This figure is a Target exclusive for 2025 here in the United States, and I did pick this up on a pre-order online with Target. So I think these are popping up in Target stores throughout the United States, and he might also be available online as well as of the making of this review. Taking a look at the packaging, this is the standard packaging for the Black Series right now. You have your Black Series logo up at the top, your nice big plastic window showing you the figure and his accessory. Over here in vertical text, you have the character's name, as well as that he is number 17 for the Andor subline. Down below the window, you have that banner with the color for the Andor subline with the name of the show. Down here, you have your legalese and some of your logos. On this side of the box, you have your mural art image, so you have the character here. In the back, you have a couple TIE fighters flying around. I'm assuming this would be on Coruscant, and you have the character's name down at the bottom. On the back of the box, you have some of the stuff we saw on the other sides of the packaging. You've got your mural image we saw on the side of the box blown up a bit, your Black Series logo, character name, and a bio in about 1,000 different languages. This bio reads, "When the spies of the Empire must spring into action to capture would-be traitors, the Imperial Security Bureau fields specialized tactical agents to carry out the assignments." We reiterate here, he is number 17 for the Andor subline. All your legalese down at the bottom. Guys, please do not feed this action figure to your babies. On the bottom of the box, we have even more legalese. On this side of the box, a little bit of your wraparound window here with that banner, Black Series logo, and on the top, nothing. That about wraps it up for the packaging. Let's get this guy opened and we'll check him out. Alright, here is our agent out of the box. Before we take a look at the figure, let's first take a look at the one accessory he comes with, this being his blaster rifle. If I'm not mistaken, this is a new blaster rifle sculpt for the Black Series. I like how chunky this feels. Kind of gives me the vibes of an MP40 down here at the bottom. Feels very Star Wars. It is really just a hunk of black plastic. I see a little bit of paint application right here at the barrel with the little silver hit here. But other than that, it's just a chunk of black plastic, no weathering, no paint on this whatsoever. But with action figure blasters at this scale, I don't really think paint and weathering are a huge deal for me unless it's like an iconic detail for that particular blaster. Now let's take a look at this guy here. So this guy is an interesting hodgepodge of some reuse as well as some new parts. And when it comes to very minor characters like this, a little troop builder technically, this is something that I don't mind at all when there's a lot of reuse here. So the first thing I want to point out here is the new face sculpt here. Whoever they scanned and did this face on, they did a great job with. The eyes are painted very nicely, the face looks really good, and then you have this hat here, which is actually removable, so you could technically, you know, swap the head on this guy and do different ISB tactical agents and put the hat back on him. You can see the hat has just a little bit of paint there for that little button on the front, but very nice detail there that they didn't just sculpt this all as one piece. The hair even has a little bit of a wash to it, so that's nice too. You could probably even customize this guy by maybe sticking his head on like a Death Star Trooper and then putting the Death Star Trooper head on this to make a different agent. I think that's an interesting way to go about it. And then when we get down to the torso, that's where we start to see a lot of the reuse coming in here. This is the Mud Trooper sculpt, the Han Solo and Mud Trooper disguise, if you remember that from the Solo release of figures back in, I want to say 2018. A lot of this is reuse of that, and if honestly, it's probably reuse too of the tank troopers, if you remember the Morak versions of Din Djarin and Migs Mayfeld from a few years back too. You've got your paint up here at the buckles. I like when they do the glossy white plastic here. Kind of hard to see some of the sculpted detail here, but it's nice. It's basic. You've got some nice paint, basic paint on the back as well, which is detailed nicely, and you can tell that this is actually from that Mud Trooper because the tubes on the Mud Trooper would actually plug in right here. You can still see those holes in in there. The arms are nice too. The shoulder armor is sculpted into the shoulders, so we'll kind of talk a little bit about that with articulation in a few minutes here. But just your basic white and black, you know, it's got some nice details, definitely feels Imperial, and there's really nothing for me to say about it. It's pretty basic. Now, as far as the little waist overlay goes, this, as far as I know, is new. It's a thin, rubbery plastic, like a PVC plastic, and this actually has a lot of detail and a lot of paint. So you'll see that the buckle is painted, that classic Imperial buckle there, as well as some pieces done in a little bit more of a dull gray, as opposed to that gunmetal color you have on the buckle itself. You have a lot of black and white on the layers here, almost like Kevlar layers, and then the leather belt is also painted here on the back, and you have those little second layers down there in the black there underneath the outer white layer. This seems to move out of the way really nicely. We'll see when we cover the articulation. The pants are very basic, and that's to be expected. I mean, I don't really think that you're going to have a lot of detail here on just some basic pants, but they've sculpted the wrinkles and folds very nicely. I also don't expect this guy to be weathered at all. This guy is essentially like a SWAT agent for like a Imperial police force, so I really don't expect for this character to have weathering. I honestly expect a lot of the Imperials just to be shiny. Then down here at the shins, you've got some interesting stuff going on here. So you've got the shin armor, which is painted with the kind of overlay here, and this is a separate piece from the rest of the leg, which is interesting. And then you have your white boots here with the shiny black soles. Aside from that, it's just a pretty basic Imperial trooper, but I think he fits in very nicely, and that's something that I will say with Andor kind of being in the same realm as Rogue One. I think Andor did a good job following suit with the groundwork that Rogue One laid in making sure that we did new Imperial designs that still felt consistent with the pre-existing designs of this military and universe. Now let's cover the articulation on this guy. Now, just for my sanity, I'm just going to remove the hat, even though it definitely passes the shake test. I'm just going to keep bumping it off while I'm messing with the figure here. The neck is on the older style of ball joint here, so there might be like a barbell joint hiding in here. You can kind of see the gap between the head and the neck, but you can get some decent movement out of this. Down, not really much at all. He can look down a little bit. Up, maybe just barely. You can get a little bit of tilt out of it, and your right and your left. At the shoulders, we lack butterfly joints because, again, this is an older sculpt that we're reusing, but when it comes to a trooper like this, I'm not really going to nitpick it as much as I would a major character. So this does not have the butterfly joint. The hinge on the shoulders gets to a little under 90 degrees, a little subpar there. And again, the shoulder armor is sculpted to the arm, so that's just going to ride up underneath the carapace, and you obviously have your 360-degree swivel. You've got single jointed deep cut elbows. Those are going to get you to that 90-degree bend. That's acceptable. There's also that swivel at the top of the elbow. As far as the wrists go, you're going to have the hinge and swivel. So on the right wrist, you have the swivel with the vertical hinge there, and on the left wrist, we have two trigger fingers, by the way. That's always nice. You have the swivel with the horizontal hinge there. Now, at the midsection, you're going to have one ball joint that's kind of up underneath the carapace, kind of midway up the torso. That's going to have decent range. It definitely doesn't get stuck on the overlay for the waist, which is really nice. And honestly, the more I'm moving this, the more I'm noticing I can really get some decent range out of that. You just kind of have to crank on it a little bit. We're going to move up the rubbery skirt piece here, and then we're going to check out the ball joint at the hips. Now, with this down, that actually does move out of the way very nicely. So you're not going to have any issues. You shouldn't have any issues with this overlay hindering articulation. This being an older figure, he does have the cut for the thigh swivel, so some added articulation there. This guy has very ugly pinned double jointed knees. If you guys know me, I hate pinned double jointed knees. However, they do offer really nice range of motion, and you can make him kick his own butt, the maximum possible range of motion on this guy here. And then, of course, he does also have, as I mentioned before, there's a cut for a boot swivel here because the boot piece is a different piece of plastic than the rest of the leg. Down at the ankles here, you have your forward-facing pin for rocker, as well as a hinge, which gets you just a little bit of forward. I'm glad it doesn't ride up on this boot piece too much, and then it does have some nice back as well. Overall, for being high reuse and using definitely some older parts at this point now, we're coming up on like some of these parts existing for like 7-8 years at this point. I think this figure articulates pretty nicely, and for just a basic trooper, like a spotter, nameless trooper. I think they've done a pretty good job with him. Now, as far as the blaster goes, there's obviously no storage for a blaster rifle like this. However, I think it fits nicely into the right hand here. It's going to pass the shake test there. We can get this guy into just a basic walking pose here. Maybe he's just patrolling or leaving the shuttle as they're getting ready to go on their warrant assignment. So that's a pretty nice pose there. Getting the weapon into two hands, you have plenty of room to put the offhand into the weapon there, and I'll kind of keep him in this walking pose here, and you can see again maybe just patrolling or getting ready to go to his assigned spot for their maybe a warrant service or something like that. Again, a very nice pose. Because he's got the trigger finger in the other hand, I was just interested to see, it seems like you can get the blaster to fit in the left hand. It does actually pass the shake test as well. It just feels like more of a looser grip, and while a little awkward and maybe the, you know, blaster kind of slips out of that left hand there, you can get this guy to hold the blaster and be left-handed, which can add to the level of customization. And maybe if you want to buy multiple of this guy, you could have some of them be left-handed and others be right-handed. Now, just due to the limitations of the articulation at the arms here, this guy's not able to shoulder the blaster. You're not able to bring the stock all the way back to the armpit. However, you can still get a decent looking shooting pose with this guy, and this is definitely serviceable. And just to kind of show you an example of the overlay not getting in the way, I can get this guy into a kneeling pose very easily, and I think that this looks great as well. And you can of course get this guy into a one-legged running pose. He has a great center of gravity, and I imagine in this pose he's running from a certain KX security droid. And just to show you, this is how the ISB tactical agent scales next to K2SO. This is the specific K2SO that came out, I want to say earlier this year, in the Andor Galaxy packaging, the same subline that this guy came in. So if you want your K2SO, I think these guys scale really nicely together because they do interact on screen. And that about wraps it up for this review. This is a fun troop builder. If you like Imperial designs, if you're a fan of the Andor show, this is just a fun Imperial trooper type character. Lots of customization appeal with the removable hat. You could swap this guy's head with lots of other swappable, you know, nameless trooper heads that the Black Series has, and I think there's a lot of options for this guy. But with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you're an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this review early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and other awesome benefits, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Become an ARC Trooper for just $4.99 a month. If you'd like the reviews that I do here on the channel, or you just want to support the YouTube channel more directly, you could also check out my YouTube channel membership, Rancor Battalion. For just 99 cents a month, you get access to all my reviews early, as opposed to all my content. You also get exclusive badges and priority replies in my comments section, and you get to vote on what I review next for the channel, just like the Patreon members do. If you'd like some Blitz Transmissions swag, you could head over to the Blitz Transmissions Armory over on Printify. Link to that is in the description below, as well as links to my Discord and all my social media. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 4-2, pick a target. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. You've got to hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm here.